Hello, and welcome to the How to Pass the Colorado's Driver Test podcast. I'm Theodore Reynolds from Mindtree Exponential. At MindTreeX, we look for ways to enrich content to improve its ability to help students learn. Reading text is a lot like trying to eat a pile of raw vegetables. Enriching the text, say by turning it into audio content, throwing in some music, and adding a few sound effects, and bam, you got yourself some tasty ice cream. Well, at least, tasty ice cream for your brain. For now, here's a small cone of ice cream learning to help you pass the Colorado Driver Test. This is an enriched audio production of the official Colorado Driver Handbook. To get a free copy of the PDF of the Colorado Driver Handbook, and some other free toppings for your ice cream, please visit howtopassthecoloradodrivertest.com. Enjoy. 10.2 Right of Way. Where vehicles or pedestrians meet one another, and there are no signs or signals to regulate traffic, there are rules that say who must yield the right of way. These rules tell drivers who goes first and who must wait in different traffic situations. The law states who must yield the right of way. It does not give anyone the right of way, even if your traffic signal is green. You must do everything you can to prevent striking a pedestrian or another vehicle, regardless of the circumstances. Pedestrians. When driving, you should yield the right of way to pedestrians under all conditions. Be particularly watchful for children, elderly, and blind persons. Most blind persons are easily recognized by the white cane they carry and or by their guide dog. Pedestrians have the right of way at all intersections and crosswalks. Drivers must come to a complete stop and let the person pass safely. Bicycles. Bicycles on the road are considered vehicles and have the same rights and responsibilities as motor vehicles. A four-way stop. You must yield the right of way to the vehicle that reached the intersection first. When more than one vehicle reaches the intersection at the same time, the vehicle on the left must yield the right of way and allow the vehicle on the right to go first. Uncontrolled intersections. When more than one vehicle reaches an uncontrolled intersection at the same time, the vehicle on the left must yield the right of way to the vehicle on the right and allow the vehicle on the right to go first. Turning left. You must yield to all oncoming traffic. Changing lanes and passing. You must yield the right of way to vehicles already occupying the lane you wish to enter or use for passing. Do not change lanes if another vehicle must slow down for you. Merging. You must yield to all vehicles on that roadway. Do not merge if another vehicle must slow down for you. Backing. You must yield the right of way to all vehicles close enough to be a hazard. Narrow mountain roadway. When vehicles meet on a steep, narrow road which is not wide enough for two vehicles, the vehicle going downhill must yield the right of way by backing up to a wider place or by stopping to leave sufficient space for the vehicle going uphill, except where it is more practical for the vehicle going uphill to return to a wider space or turnout. Emergency vehicles. You must yield the right of way to all emergency vehicles using a siren, air horn, and or flashing red, blue, or white lights. Where possible, you must pull over to the right edge of the road. If you are in an intersection, drive through the intersection before you pull over. On a roadway with two or more lanes traveling in the same direction, if you are approaching an emergency vehicle that has stopped along the side of the road, when possible, you must leave at least one lane between your vehicle and the emergency vehicle by changing lanes, unless directed otherwise by a police officer or emergency personnel, or conditions prohibit the lane change. If the road only has one lane on your side, or you cannot change lanes, slow down to a safe speed and use due care and caution as you pass. Maintenance vehicles. Yield the right of way to service vehicles and maintenance equipment engaged in work upon the roads using flashing yellow and blue warning lights. Use extra caution in approaching, overtaking, or passing maintenance vehicles and snowplows. Because of their traveling speed and size, snowplows tend to create large clouds of blowing snow that conceal the plow, making it invisible. School bus. You must stop your vehicle at least 20 feet before reaching a school bus that is stopped with its red lights flashing, whether it is on your side of the road, the opposite side of the road, or at an intersection you are approaching. You must remain stopped until the flashing red lights are no longer operating. Watch carefully for children near the school bus and children crossing the roadway before proceeding. You are not required to stop if the bus is traveling towards you on a roadway that is separated by a median or other physical barrier. Transit buses. Drivers in the same lane of traffic behind a transit bus, such as an RTV bus, for example, are required to yield the right of way to the bus if the bus, after stopping to allow passengers to board or exit, is signaling to enter a traffic lane, and the yield warning sign on the back of the bus is illuminated. These yield signs are a warning to drivers behind transit buses that they are required to yield when the bus is entering a traffic lane. Roadwork construction zone. You must yield the right of way to all workers and construction vehicles. Drivers are responsible for knowing how to read and react to work zone directional signs, roadway markings, and flag persons. Normal speed limits are reduced for safety reasons and are clearly marked. Reduce speed, adjust lane position away from workers, and prepare for the unexpected. Failure to comply can result in double fines for certain violations. 10.3 Speed. Almost half of the fatal accidents on Colorado highways involve excessive speed. Of all the possible causes of accidents, speeding or driving too fast for conditions is perhaps the most common and the most dangerous. Limits. Speed limit signs indicate the maximum speed allowed in ideal conditions. Some roads, such as freeways, have minimum speed limits posted. Driving slower than the minimum speed limit in ideal conditions is a traffic violation. Regardless of what the posted limit is, your safety and the safety of others may be affected by many things, and it may be necessary to reduce your speed. CRS 42-4-1101 Exceeded safe speed for conditions. Quote, no driver of a vehicle shall fail to decrease the speed of such vehicle from an otherwise lawful speed to a reasonable and prudent speed when a special hazard exists with respect to pedestrians or other traffic, or by reason of weather or highway conditions. End quote. Reduced speed zones. At various locations, such as school zones and construction zones, a reduced speed is required during certain hours or periods of the day when temporary hazards exist. Signs will indicate when the lower speed limit is in effect. Unless otherwise posted, Colorado speed limits are as follows: 20 miles per hour on narrow, winding mountain highways and blind curves, 25 miles an hour in any business district, 30 miles per hour in any residence district, 40 miles per hour on open mountain highways, 45 miles per hour for vehicles in the business of hauling trash, 55 miles per hour on urban interstate and highways, 67 to 75 miles per hour on designated rural interstate and highways. Stopping distance. Be alert so that you know when you will have to stop well ahead of time. Stopping suddenly is dangerous and usually points to a driver who was not paying attention. When you brake quickly, you could skid and lose control of your vehicle. You also make it harder for drivers behind you to stop without hitting you. Try to avoid panic stops by seeing events well in advance. By slowing down or changing lanes, you may not have to stop at all. And if you do, it can be a more gradual and safer stop. According to the National Safety Council, a lightweight passenger car traveling at 55 miles per hour can stop in about 200 feet. Other vehicles require different stopping distances. The chart above shows the stopping distances under ideal conditions. 10.4 Turning. The most common faults when making turns are failing to signal, not signaling long enough, failing to search for hazards, turning from the wrong lane, and failing to turn properly. Signaling. In urban or metropolitan areas, you must signal continuously for 100 feet before making a turn or a lane change. At speeds above 40 miles per hour, you must signal continuously for 200 feet before making a turn or lane change. Signaling. Before making any turn, whether the turn is into another roadway, a parking lot, another traffic lane, or leaving a parked position, it is extremely important that you signal. Your signal lets other drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians know your intentions. In urban or metropolitan areas, you must signal continuously for 100 feet before making a turn or lane change. On 4-lane highways, where the posted speed limit is more than 40 miles per hour, you must signal for 200 feet. Failing to signal is a traffic violation. If your vehicle's turn signals do not work, you must use hand signals. If using hand signals, end your signal before starting to make your turn, and place both hands on the wheel while making your turn. Turning from the proper lane. If you are making a left turn, you must begin in the leftmost lane. If you are making a right turn, you must begin in the rightmost lane, unless traffic signs, signals, or lane markings clearly permit turning from more than one lane. Turning in a correct path. Do not turn too short so as to cut corners on left turns or run over the curb on right turns. Turning too wide or too late, straddling lanes, or turning into the wrong side of the street will result in not being able to turn into the correct lane. Complete your turn in the lane closest to you on your side of the street, and always follow the solid white line in intersections using multiple turn lanes. Left turns. If you are turning left, you should wait at the stop line or crosswalk until there is a gap in traffic large enough to allow you to pull into the intersection and complete your turn. Pulling into the intersection to wait to turn left blocks the intersection for emergency vehicles, limits visibility for oncoming traffic, and puts you in a position to get in an accident if the light changes and oncoming traffic runs the red light while you are making your turn. Never turn the front wheels towards the left while you are waiting to turn. If you happen to get rear-ended, you will be pushed into oncoming traffic. U-turns. U-turns are forbidden unless they can be made without endangering other traffic. Prohibitory signs are usually posted at hazardous locations. U-turns are normally permitted where your vehicle can be seen for a great distance. However, it is always preferable to continue to the next street or turnaround area if a U-turn cannot be made safely. Do not try to make a sudden U-turn in front of traffic traveling either direction. Parking. There are several locations where it is forbidden to stop or park a vehicle. Among these are on a crosswalk, sidewalk, bridge, elevated structure, railroad tracks, or any controlled access highway. Within 30 feet of a traffic signal, stop sign, railroad crossing, or within 15 feet of a fire hydrant. Within an intersection, tunnel, runaway truck ramp, on-off ramp, or blocking a driveway. Where parking is permitted, your vehicle must be within 12 inches of the curb or as close as possible to the outside edge of the shoulder so that traffic will not be impeded. Leave the car in low gear if headed uphill and in reverse gear if headed downhill, or in park position if your vehicle has automatic transmission. Set the emergency brake and remember to remove the ignition key when leaving the car. Downhill. When you stop your car headed downhill, turn your front wheels toward the curb. Let your vehicle roll slowly until the front tires rests against the curb, using it as a block. Uphill. When headed uphill at a curb, turn the front wheels away from the curb and let your vehicle roll backwards slowly until the rear part of the front wheels rests against the curb, using it as a block. No curb. When headed uphill with no curb, always turn your front wheels to the right so that if your vehicle moves, it will roll off the highway, not into traffic. Before we go, I will just ask you to remember this. Millions and millions of people have already passed this driver test, or one just like it. You can pass it too. And listening to one of these podcast episodes every day will give you a huge advantage. So I expect to see you back here for the next episode.